2002, what a year for video games. New entries from beloved franchises would hit the scene with games like The Wind Waker, Super Mario Sunshine, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Metroid Prime, Resident Evil Remake, and Resident Evil Zero, and Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, just to name a few. On top of all these legends came new franchises for us to sink our teeth into: Kingdom Hearts, Battlefield, Ratchet & Clank, SOCOM US Navy SEALs, Sly Cooper, and Splinter Cell. I was 16 years old during this time. I had just gotten my first car, a 1986 Chevy Cavalier that barely lasted a year, and I had a PlayStation 2. What else could a man want? Apparently not much, because I played none of these games I just mentioned. Some I still haven't, while others I would get around to in the years to follow. But there was one game I got that year that I distinctly remember, and it isn't at all associated with the monolithic titles you've seen here before you. On Halloween Day that year, Majesco and Terminal Reality unleashed BloodRayne. I was practically hardwired to like this game. I get to play as a red-headed vampire with big boobs, decked out in skin-tight leather, whose ass I get to stare at during gameplay. I get to kill Nazis, which is always a ton of fun in my book. And there's a hint of gothic horror. I had to play this game. Now, I didn't have a job yet and no money to my name, so how was I going to get this gift from the gaming gods? My grandmother, of course. I know it was close to my birthday and all, but how I ever convinced Mamaw to buy me a game with this cover art, I'll never know. I wish I had those kind of negotiating skills today. Speaking of the box art, the original has become iconic in my mind, but check out the Japanese cover. Now that's big business. Also, I remember being shocked to see a PS2 copy of this game at a local Toys R Us that night. I feel like the game's marketing really pushed the Xbox and PC versions of the game, to the point I thought it was an Xbox console exclusive. So when I saw Rain staring at me with that PS2 banner overhead, I was in heaven. Before the fiery red-headed vampire came to be though, Terminal Reality developed the game Nocturne for PC. Survival horror game following the footsteps of Sweet Home, Alone in the Dark, and Resident Evil, Nocturne would release in 1999 and served as a precursor source to BloodRayne, sharing similar story elements, characters, and locations, albeit with a vastly different gameplay style, going from the more traditional survival horror to a hack and slash run and gun action game, no doubt inspired by the big motherfucker Devil May Cry. Released in 2001, DMC revolutionized the action game genre. In fact, it spawned a brand new subgenre that came to be known as Extreme Combat, recognized as games featuring stylish combos, OP but still killable playable characters, and sometimes even a grading system for how well you dispatch your foes. This would give rise to games such as God of War, the rebooted Ninja Gaiden series, Metal Gear Rising, and my personal favorite example of the genre, Bayonetta. BloodRayne definitely falls into this category as well, turning the player loose in maze-like locales with a plethora of guns and the twin blades in place of Dante's sword. I mean look, Rain and Dante even wear the same colors. However, Devil May Cry had Capcom's resources behind it with certified future legends helming the project. BloodRayne did not. What BloodRayne did have though was Laura Bailey as the voice of the titular character. Considered a legend of voice acting today in both video games and anime, BloodRayne was Laura's first ever video game role, and was only the 5th project she'd ever worked on, not counting a live-action appearance on Walker Texas Ranger of all things. Hey, did you know that Spider-Man himself, Tobey Maguire, was on Walker once too? Before giving Rain a voice, her previous work was the younger version of Trunks in Dragon Ball Z, Marlene Angel in Blue Gender, Keiko in the absolute banger Yu Yu Hakusho, and Toru Honda in Fruits Basket. That's it. Before she became Lucina, Black Widow, Mary Jane Watson, Abby, and even Chun-Li, she was Rain. Man, Laura was Rain, Lucina, and Chun-Li, woman after my heart. After an awesome opening FMV, BloodRayne starts out innocently enough with a tutorial, with Rain's mentor, Mintz, showing us the vampire ropes. Now, I know I've been calling Rain a vampire up until now, but that's technically not the case, as she's what's called a Dhampir, a product of the unholy union of vampire and human, possessing the strengths of the vampire with fewer weaknesses. Rain is on the hunt for her vampire father, who, how do I put this in YouTube terms, forcefully created Rain. If you can't get what I'm saying from there, I can't help you. She's been recruited by the Brimstone Society, a secret organization fighting against the supernatural, and are now tasked with stopping the Nazis from collecting a set of occult artifacts that would allow them to easily win World War II. In exchange, Brimstone is gathering information on Rayne's father so that she can fulfill her own personal mission. So back to the tutorial and opening mission. Rayne and Mist have been sent to Louisiana to find the source of a plague inflicting a small town. This is where we learn what Rayne is capable of. Her vampiric agility allows her to jump super high and walk along power lines like a cute little squirrel. Really, that's the first thing we learn about this super badass. We also learn that Rayne cannot touch water. Not just holy water, but any kind of water, so I guess she's dirty all the time. Rayne can also do what's basically an aerial version of Cammy from Street Fighter's Spiral Arrow, knock down walls or open some doors. We also get a taste of melee combat using our twin blades and kicks to dispatch a foe. This is where the first cracks in the game design show up. If you're expecting a press and pause combo system like in DMC, you're gonna be severely disappointed. Rayne can swing each of her blades and do a spin kick that would do Sean Waltman proud, and as we progress through the game, more melee attacks are unlocked. However, these attacks aren't done on command. Rather, they're just strung together by pressing the L2 button. Mash and mash and mash, and that's all you do. The blade attacks can dismember enemies or even behead them for an instant kill. However, you have no control over this. You just have to catch an enemy with the right attack in your string at the right time, at the right angle for something like that to actually happen. We're also introduced to the Blood Rage mechanic, which enhances Rayne's physical attacks and slows down time for some reason. Melee dismemberment is cranked up while Blood Rage is active, and your attack string is swapped out for a completely new one with wider sweeping attacks. It's basically double triggered. She also possesses an aura vision, which highlights enemies and their health conditions in the area, along with pointing you towards your next objective. After making her way to a church, Rayne gets to indulge in a little leisurely firearms training. Rayne can hold 6 normal guns at once, along with grenades and a reserved slot for special weapons such as shotguns and rifles. Rayne can dual wield any gun that isn't a special gun and can simultaneously target 2 enemies at once, one with each gun in each hand. This was a big selling point of the game. The back of the box even calls this aiming system revolutionary. And think about it, Dante had 2 guns and he could only shoot 1 target at a time, same with Lara Croft. Let's see this targeting system in action. Yeah, this actually blows. Rayne automatically points her guns towards whatever targets are closest to her in her line of sight, meaning you actually have no control over what or where you're shooting at any time if there are multiple targets on screen. It sounds like such a cool idea, but it does not work well at all. The weapon system doesn't do the aiming any favors either. Every weapon is procured on sight. When you kill an enemy, you can take their weapon. Simple. However, unlike other games where you can reload or just have unlimited ammo, once the magazine is spent in your current guns, you just throw them on the ground and have to pick up new ones. So you're constantly running around trying to pick up new guns. The way you select your guns is also wonky as hell. If you have a full loadout, you don't just pick what gun you want to use, but rather you cycle between your lightest guns, such as pistols, your heaviest guns like SMGs and rifles, grenades, or the special slot. In the end though, the only real difference between any normal gun is its damage and fire rate. All the guns basically feel the same, outside of the special slot guns like the trench gun. Real quick, when playing the game I suggest using the cheat code Show Me My Weapons, which renders all the guns in your inventory on Rayne's body rather than having her pull them out of thin air like normal. This should have been the default feature rather than a cheat code. Tell me Rayne doesn't look sick with all those guns hanging off of her waist and strapped to her back. Okay, so we can jump high, run on power lines, spin kick through walls, swing blades, and shoot guns. But being a vampire, Rayne needs blood for nourishment. How do you get blood? By feeding on your enemies, of course. Pressing the square button allows Rayne to hop onto an enemy, place her crotch directly on theirs, and suck their blood to restore your life gauge. This is kind of a cool dynamic as every enemy is not only a threat, but also a source of health, outside of bosses that is. Feeding on an enemy also kills them after Rayne's done feasting, and you can turn enemies while feeding to use them as a human shield if others open fire on you, which you will be doing a lot of. Sometimes when you're faced with multiple enemies, the best thing to do is just have a snack rather than actually fight. You can also shoot while feeding, but good luck hitting anything. Also, I'm sure this was done intentionally, but it really sounds like Rayne is slurping on a dick when she feeds. As a teenage boy, I thought this was awesome and sexy. Now as an adult, I kind of find it disgusting and dumb because she's fucking drinking blood for crying out loud. After checking out a graveyard, Mince gives us the harpoon, which lets us pull enemies towards us scorpion style. Holding the harpoon button allows you to kick the oncoming enemy and transition into feeding on them. After that, we kill some weird spider things and something that looks like a giant pile of shit. We save some of the few survivors of the plague and meet back up with Mince, who immediately gets eaten whole by one of the spider things, which ends up leading us to a decrepit boatyard and the first boss of the game, the Queen of the Underworld, which is just one of the spider things but is big and has claws. This fight sucks. There's water everywhere and the boss can destroy the boat, so there's not one safe place to stand on, and the boss hits you extremely hard. The weapon system shows just how truly flawed it is here, and you're constantly running around and looking for guns as the boss chases you. Sometimes gun-carrying enemies just won't spawn, leaving you completely fucked. Your best bet is to just hope to find enough guns on the ground and tank her attacks while trying to melee her. It's one of the worst first bosses I've ever seen in a video game. Quick timeout. I know it sounds like I'm shitting on this game, but I'm just being honest. I'm a fan of this game and its sequels, but I have to call them like I see them. After dispatching the giant spider thing, Rayne finds a glowing rib bone inside it and unwillingly stabs herself with it. This is where we meet Jürgen Wolf, Nazi general and head of the Gegengeist group, a Nazi task force whose job is to research the occult in order to bring victory to the Nazis. Wolf takes the rib from Rayne by force, nearly killing her. After Brimstone gives Rayne the skinny on the GGG, she hightails it to a Nazi base in Argentina, where most of the game takes place. Rayne's mission is to infiltrate the base, assassinate a list of GGG members, and recover a relic that the Nazis are mining under the base. It turns out that the GGG are attempting to locate the body parts of a demon named Beliar, who is supposedly the original devil before Lucifer fell from heaven. This sounds so cool, and it is, but the design of the base leaves a lot to be desired. It's just gray hallway after gray hallway. I mean, I get it, it's a giant military base made out of concrete, but it could have used some sprucing up or taken some design liberties to give us more personality. It's not long till we encounter our first boss of the base, a random general with a life bar. These generals make up a bulk of Rayne's hit list rather than the superpowered Nazis we've been led to believe, and it just feels like padding. I'll also mention here that somehow Rayne's encounter with Wolf in Louisiana has given her dilated perception, or bullet time if you will, lifted straight out of Max Payne. It's somewhat useful in the first real boss fight at the base, the Priest, who uses a mechanized machine gun pulpit.
And what do we have here? Occult writings on Atlantis and Beliar. At least he was organized.
After swiping some documents off him and contacting Brimstone, we make our way deeper into the base and find the Commando. This dude is a straight ripoff of Hunk from Resident Evil, but is one of the most difficult bosses in the game, as this 3-story area is filled with high-level enemies. After clearing the grunts out, just blood rage and tank his hits. Afterwards, we make our way to the subdock. Here we get our first real clue that something really crazy is going on. This is where the Daymites show up, a weird creature consisting of just a spine and a head that takes over humans by forcing themselves down their throat and taking over the central nervous system. These things suck. They can somehow take a lot of damage when outside of a host body, and when you feed on a human taken over by them, you instantly take a hit from them yeeting out of the body. A little deeper in and we meet the Butcheress, another target on our list who also claims to be a descendant of Elizabeth Bathory, one of the supposed inspirations for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and a name Castlevania fans should recognize. Her design is almost definitely inspired by the Nazi exploitation film Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. The resemblance is undeniable. What's also undeniable is that she and Rayne have the same exact body model, just with different clothes and hair. They even share most of the same animations. And actually, take a closer look at Mince too. All 3 women have the same movement and standing animations. The Butcheress stays right on your ass during the fight. The second you move, she's right back on you. The best strategy is to just blood rage and tank her hits, like 90% of the bosses in this game. Afterwards though, Rayne can copy her wannabe spinning bird kick, sweeps the leg like Johnny in Karate Kid, and sends the Butcheress over the edge to her death. Allegedly. We enter the mines and the Daymites are running amok, killing anyone in sight. The Nazis are already overwhelmed by the pesky guys, and now they have Rayne to deal with as well. Kill a bunch of Nazis and bodiless spawns, and we eventually make our way down to the underground shrine, where the Eye of Beliar is waiting for us.
Beliar's crystal skull. That's what all the fuss is about? A chunk of glass? Oh, the skull just holds the real relic. The eye.
After obtaining the relic and once again having one of the devil's body parts replace her own, Rayne can now zoom in with her eyes, allowing us to snipe, which is completely useless in this game.
My, you're a big one. Mahler, I presume?
We blast our way out and come across another GGG member, D. Mahler, the Nazified version of Bane from Batman. Use Blood Rage and tank his hits. I'm telling you, this strat never fails.
I can't be beat that easily.
After dispatching the big behemoth, Rayne sneaks aboard a Nazi sub and is transported to the final act of the game, while also getting a glimpse of a potential traitor.
You scared?
The submarine delivers Rayne to Castle Gaustadt in Germany, a home for feral vampires that have evolved, or perhaps devolved into beastly animals with uncontrollable bloodlust. After being delivered a new list of GGG targets to eliminate by an unknown courier, Rayne makes her way through the castle fighting Nazi and vampire alike, until coming up to this section, a straight up mecha tank battle. These things look like they're taken straight from MechWarrior or Chrome Hounds. We then climb the belfry of the church we're in and we witness the plot twist of the century.
What? Mince is alive? And she's working for that bastard wolf? No. That bitch. I'm gonna tear her apart.
Mince is alive and working for the Nazis. Rayne engages Mince in one of the jankiest boss battles of all time, and then hits a roundhouse kick just like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Street Fighter the movie to send Mince to her death. But she's able to use her harpoon to latch onto a nearby wall that immediately crumbles, and now Mince is dead. After this, we ascend the castle tower and come to this spot here. Anyone who's played this game before knows what's behind this door and the difficulty spike that accompanies it. Watch this shit. Even if you somehow manage to kill the first two super vampires or whatever they are, the rest of the area is filled with them. As a kid, this is where I gave up beating the game legitimately and used the invincibility cheat to get through this area. But I didn't want to do that for this run to capture footage, so instead of fighting, I tried something I never thought of in the past. Just fucking run. Booking through here, and shockingly, it worked. Just haul ass and you're golden. After this really dumb section, we're introduced to the leader of the Castle Vampire Horde, Hedrox, who has an interesting way of interrogating people.
Ask what's the secret.
Working our way deeper into the castle, we come across the Krieger twins, Simon and Sigmund.
Doppelganger twins, what a pleasant surprise. Such handsome Nazis. And 2 of them.
Who are honestly the most interesting bosses in the game. These conjoined twins were separated at birth, and now somehow feel each other's pain. When you attack one in this boss fight, you actually damage the other one. Again, this sounds cool, like you have to spread damage between the 2 of them or something, but it ends up not amounting to anything. After some sexually charged dialogue between the 3, just blood rage and tank their hits. You only have to kill one of them to win the fight, and it doesn't matter which one. However, in the revamped version of the game, there are 2 trophies to earn, one for killing each brother in separate battles. With the twins dead, Rain sends a conveniently deployed rope ladder to find who else but Mintz once again. After somehow surviving being eaten alive by a spider thing and then falling off a cliff, she's still alive and kicking, revealing to Rain that she's been a double agent, working for the GGG undercover with Brimstone. She delivers the nameplates of some of Rain's targets as proof. She then goes on to inform Rain that Jurgen Wolf has several of Beliar's parts within him, just like Rain, and is almost invincible. Wolf is at the castle in a race with Hedrox to find Beliar's heart, unbeknownst to him that Hedrox already possesses it, but doesn't know how to use it. We follow Mintz, and she's immediately killed again, this time by Wolf.
Mintz!
Jurgen cuts a promo on Rain, explaining that once he obtains the heart of Beliar, he'll become immortal, and that she can join he and Hedrox up ahead.
Mintz! Oh, Jesus. Mintz, you aren't coming back this time, are you? I'll make him pay. I promise. Today, Jurgen Wolf will die.
So this is it, the final battle. Hedrox attempts to use the heart, an explosion happens, and Hedrox turns into Beliar, turning our final boss fight into an ECW-style 3-way dance between Rain, Beliar, and Wolf. Despite fighting 2 bosses at once, it's actually quite easy, if you know what to do, that is. Beliar can only be damaged while facing Rain, so just get in front of him and shoot. That's it, he's done. So that's 1 down and 1 to go. Find some more guns and shoot Wolf till you're empty, then go into Blood Rage, tank his hits, and it's over. You've just watched me beat this game without cheats for the first time. After killing both the fucking devil and a man trying to ascend to godhood, Rain drops a double deuce on him. She walks over to Beliar's heart, reaching out for it, as if she's tempted to wield its power. However, after coming to her senses, she simply kicks it down a storm drain. She leaves Castle Gaustadt. Brimstone informs her that they've tracked down her father.
The new evil grows more powerful even now. Brimstone Society has found your father. He must be stopped.
Credits roll, and Laura Bailey doesn't even get top billing. Holy shit. Upon its release, BloodRayne received pretty favorable reviews from fans and critics alike, but it just hasn't aged well in the, get this, 23 years since its release. I still love it. I'm still a fan, but even with the newly released revamped versions of the game, which is what I use to capture the footage you've seen today, it's a little hard to swallow these days. But there for a while in the early 2000s, BloodRayne turned into a nice little franchise. Rain herself was sort of positioned as a new Lara Croft after Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness bombed. The game spawned several one-shot comic books from publisher Digital Webbing through the early 2000s. Think IDW or Dynamite are small? Well, check out Digital Webbing. These books featured some amazing cover artwork. I want some of these to frame on my walls with my other comics. The stories inside aren't the greatest, but you can tell that the artists and writers were fans of the game and wanted to further explore Rain's character, and I commend them for that. 4 miniseries were also published, but I haven't gotten around to those yet. The game was spawned in both a sequel, BloodRayne 2, and a prequel, BloodRayne Betrayal, one of the hardest platforming games I've ever beaten. And of course there's a theatrical movie directed by everyone's favorite guy, Uwe Boll, that was released in 2006. I saw this deep in theaters, and man is it bad, like laughably awful. Boll would direct 2 more sequels, but both were direct-to-DVD releases. There's a lot more to talk about with the franchise, but I'm going to save some of that for later when we take a look back at BloodRayne 2. As always, thank you for watching. I'm RedCometXIII, and I'll see you next time.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy.